welcome back to Word Blindness Dyslexia Exposed. I'm Juliet Hahn here with my co-host Brent Sopel. How are you?
Oh, you look great, huh?
Yeah. It's been a week. It's been a week.
A week. We just finished a weekend.
It's been a week and a weekend. It's been a week and a weekend. Let's just leave it at that. And school's starting soon.
Well, school started here.
Right. Schools did start there. What, last week?
No, I think probably about half started last week. The other half will start this week, and so by the end of by the end of next week or end of this week, all schools will be going except for Chicago Public Schools is on the same schedule as you. So
there's the 2nd of September.
Yeah, they're after. But everybody else in the state, I think pretty much everywhere else except for New York will be started. I think.
Yeah, because Philly starts next week.
Georgia started 3 weeks ago.
Or two, yeah, because my friend Christina.
I think the first week in August they started.
Yeah, they started. I know my friend that has her kids in private. I think they started the 2nd week, but yeah. Yeah,
Elizabeth's nieces, they're starting the 3rd week there.
Yeah. Right. So this is why we wanted to talk about this today, is to check in with your student. It doesn't matter what grade they are, what level they are, especially in the higher grades. As we've spoken about this before, teachers don't typically look at the IEP, the 504 until school's already started. And so usually your student is like 2 weeks behind because the teachers are a couple weeks behind. And then they're just getting ready to understand the students. The first month is a lot of review, even in the higher grades. And they're trying to get, knowing their students. So all of a sudden it's like a switch. And I know with my kids, it's like, okay, now we're full on. And that's where things kind of fall through the cracks if they're not feeling supported by their IEP or their 504.
Very few of them will feel supported, because I think in the lower classes, lower grades, I think high school is a little bit different. You're dropping classes, you can still switch your schedule. So up until the last second, I think teachers are getting new students. Lower grades, obviously, I think they're set a little bit longer, but they don't read their IEPs or the 504s. Mm-hmm. A lot of times you're 2 or 3 weeks in and some of them haven't even looked at it. Right. And, again, always remember that their science teacher or biology or an English or whatever, they're not special ed. They're not up to speed in 504s or IEPs. Most of them don't even know what exactly all that means. So your kids obviously starting behind the 8 ball, having IEP 504 and starting a new teacher and new schedule, and the anxiety with that in itself is not fun. And then having a teacher not being up to speed on them isn't fun either.
No. And I think something for parents to think about, but in the younger grades, not knowing if their kid right now struggles. Some parents starting kindergarten or starting 1st grade. I've had a number of parents be like, oh, my 2 are really excited, but my 1's really not excited. I don't know what's going on. And I'm like, I know what's going on. There's something going on. And so if your child is seeming off, there's a difference between just being nervous, a kid that loves to be home, loves their mom, loves their dad, loves that. There's a different level when a kid knows that they're going to struggle, but doesn't know how to express it and doesn't know how to talk about it. A lot of times it's acting out or just, not really being excited. And then when school starts, another sign to really just kind of really be checking in with your child if they come home and constantly have meltdowns. Now, there's going to be kids that do that because it's like, it's been a free for all, right? In the summer, and free for all meaning in the best way. There's no schedules, there's not. And then all of a sudden they're sitting in a chair for 6 hours and needing to follow directions and all these different things. It really depends on your household and how you parent and all these different kind of aspects. But if your child keeps doing it, you need to stop and be like, okay, what's going on? I know I have a friend that she suspects her child has ADHD. She's like, the teacher's like, he's doing great. She's like, he comes home and he fricking melts down. And I'm like, that's normal, right? That's like,
Yeah.
they're keeping it in. They don't want to get in trouble.
Correct.
And they you're the
focus so
safe
hard
space.
all day at school. They put all their energy into to school and sitting there and listening and being good. That when they come home, they just let it go.
Yep. And that is important to let your child do that, as much as it's hard, especially if you're someone that, is an overscheduler where they're like, nope, we're on to the next activity. Sometimes we need to let that kid just have a freaking moment. Sometimes you need that kid just to be like, okay, let them have that. And then try to talk to them about it. Sometimes when they're younger, it's hard because they don't completely understand why they're having this meltdown. They can't put it into words. But you as a parent, just knowing, okay, my kid's a little off. It's so much better to talk about it in the beginning than to kind of stuff it and be like, I don't feel like dealing with this, because it's just gonna get worse and worse.
Yeah, they don't have the words for it. It took us 40 some years to figure out what the words were to understand it, right? It didn't make sense. We just know things aren't right, and we know things aren't in line like everybody else, and we don't know why, and we don't know what it is. And if your kid always just wants to stay out for recess or stay on the lunch break, there usually is, not all the time, but there's usually more of the story. Like, I loved recess, right? I loved sandbox gum. I didn't have to do math. I didn't have to do. I hated coming in.
Yeah.
I was always late. I didn't want to go in.
No, and the other thing is, for teachers also like are listening to think about this, is, the kids that seem like, okay, they are really controlled and trying to be really good, or the ones that are maybe acting out a little bit, just think about it. Don't automatically be like, they're the bad kid, right? They're the bad kid. And as school progresses, another thing is teachers and parents to think about, because I remember this, Montgomery and Bradley talked about this on the podcast. And so anyone that's like, what is she talking about? Just go back in season 3, one of the interviews. And both of them talked about when they assigned the books that the kids were going to be in. And I cannot tell you how many parents talk about it. Like, that destroyed their kid, right? And then it was like, okay, they're in the lowest level of, like, as a teacher, you don't need to make it so obvious. Okay, you guys are in the high ones. You guys are in the sucky ones. Your kid knows already.
Right.
They know they're struggling. They don't need the freaking reminder all the time. They don't need other kids to be like, oh, you're only on A. I'm on D. I'm on C. I'm on F. It doesn't feel good. So think about that as your, because I know in the beginning of school, that's not that you assess, it's like a couple months in, but think about that. And then as a parent, if there's, you're like, oh, everything's good. And all of a sudden there's like a bad day. It could be the day that they assign the fucking reading books, because that was never a fun day in my house.
It's, there's always ways around making things obvious. Yeah. I think we've discussed it on here. I've been told I'm dumb my whole life, and so when somebody says, "Oh, you're not dumb, you're smart," it's fuck you. Instead of saying, "Oh shit, how did you get to that answer? That's pretty cool. That was awesome how you did that." There's things like that you can do with books and with reading. There's you don't have to be so blunt and great. I understand that's kind of how your brain works, but and most of you guys have enjoyed school. We haven't. We hate it. So short term, it may be a little bit harder on a teacher to brainstorm and figure out a different way to do it. But long term, it's going to make your day so much better if you're able to do that.
Yeah. And it doesn't have to, because yes, I've talked about this where people and they're like, well, kids talk about it. It's just life. Things are going to be hard. Everyone needs to toughen up or learn. Yeah, it is hard. I get that. But when you're in kindergarten and first, second grade, you know what? Let's keep it where it doesn't have to fucking suck and be hard. Save that kid's, self-esteem.
Toughen up when they beat the fuck out of your kid.
But think about it. Like kids are like, oh, what are you on? And they're not doing it maliciously.
No.
But it's like, oh, wait, you're only on A. Why are you on the low one? What does that mean? Is there a way that you can maybe not do A, B, C, D so they know, hey, this is a better one?
Right.
Do different things. It doesn't have to be so. And I don't know why time and time again, it's always the alphabet. And it's like, oh, yes, the harder ones are later. I remember Montgomery coming home and the first time where he realized, and it was like the first day because he's smart, right? It was like, wait, I'm in the lowest reading group because not only the book, but you're the lowest in the alphabet. So it's like, you know what? You're not, just because you can't, you're dyslexic, I'm going to say this, I haven't said it in a long time. It doesn't mean, that you're dumb. Dyslexia has nothing to do with IQ. Usually we're actually more clever in many different ways. It's just not in school. So it doesn't come out that way, but you could do it in a different way. So kids don't realize. Yeah, totally. Be creative. Don't be like, oh, everyone does the ABC.
It's amazing how many teachers can't be though.
Well, it's because they're also following a curriculum and it's the way the curriculum is. It's the way the curriculum's laid out. You can still do things that it stays in the curriculum. Like that's like an excuse, in my opinion.
Curriculums, you got to teach the kids this. You got to teach this, again, that doesn't mean you can't, instead of doing the alphabet forward, when the cop would pull you over, can you see the alphabet backwards? Right? Mm-hmm. Why can they do it? They weren't taught in the academy to do that. No, I can't. I can't do that sober, officer. Oh, really? You can't do that sober? Are you drunk now? No, I've almost. Kind of would be great to have a drink right now, officer. You got one for me? See?
I think they also do that in concussions. I got into a fight with the doctor, asking Montgomery to do that backwards and then spelling something and then doing math. I was like, what? I was like, he's dyslexic and dysgraphic and dyscalculia. And then the doctor yelled at me and made me go out in the other room. And I was like, okay. And then he said he had a concussion. I was like, he doesn't have a fucking concussion. Oh, it was terrible. Yes. So,
I hated the concussion pre-test.
Yeah. It's not easy. And then you got to remember what you did, and then you're like,
I think I only had to do a couple of them. That was a new thing in hockey. Yeah. For a base test, I think I only had to do it once. Thank goodness. Because I got enough concussions already. I didn't need somebody to tell me if I had one or not.
Right. And when they were in high school, they had to do them every year. They always have to do it. You have to do it if you play a sport. And it's the thing. Montgomery never complained about that, but it was one time that a ref was like, he got punched in the face by the goalie and went down, and he got up, but they were like, oh, I think you have a concussion.
Because you don't play a real sport. That's all.
They didn't have a helmet on, by the way.
When we fight, we don't have helmets on. I know,
that's right. That's true.
So, what are you saying? You're the ones you guys wear goggles and 7,000 whistles.
Okay. First of all, when I played lacrosse, fuck you, I did not wear goggles or helmets. We didn't wear anything. Girls didn't wear anything back in my day.
Lila played lacrosse for a couple of years. My God, there was
Did she have to wear the goggles?
Yeah, I had to wear the goggles, and there's 6,922 whistles in every minute.
Yeah. Not when I played. It was a different time then. But those things like that. I mean, it is like concussions, all these different things that
it adds up.
Right. But like the teacher can be like, okay, let's think about this. Why do we need to make it like, okay, you're in the lowest level? And some teachers have no sympathy about it. And I'm not saying, I know there's a lot that do, because I know a lot that do, but there's a lot that they don't think about it. And it's like, oh, well, no, that's just where the kid is. Like, and it hurt. The kids I was going to say something. They're not, just because they're dyslexic, they're not slow, and they know,
they're not retarded.
Yeah. Right. They're not in the lowest level. Like they have awareness. They realize that they are in the lowest level. It doesn't feel good. They know they're struggling, so it doesn't need to be thrown in their face. And we can be better at, okay, let's give the support where it's like screaming, like, oh, you're the kid. You're the kid that sucks at that. Oh, you're the kid that sucks at that.
And the bad thing is, you always would say kids are always too smart for their own good, right?
Yeah.
We know the struggles. We know we're different at such a young age, and we just don't know why. We don't know how to express it, communicate it, but we know.
Yeah. And so if we can help in any way, it's smart. So as a parent, if you are just starting school, you suspect, hey, my kid seems like they're struggling. What do I do? We've talked about this on so many different episodes, but just as a reminder, do not go through the school, go outside. The school has their way to fit in the box and what they need to get. Now, listen, I know that there's districts because I've had so many people, oh, my district's great. They do this and they do that. It's great until it's not, by the way. You might have a really great year because you have a teacher and someone that gets it. And that is awesome. But the majority, it is so broken. And right now, with the way education is, it's even more broken. And the way that they're trying to force different things because nothing's working. They're lowering what is achievement for a kid anyways. So just as a parent, just be a little bit more aware. Just be a little bit more aware.
Every state's what they're trying to lower.
New York did it. Chicago.
Yeah, in the whole state of Illinois, yeah. I think they're talking about the whole state dropping. Where did I see something? They were talking about passing kids, with 20%.
Yeah. You don't have to go.
I was 50. They passed. There's so many times they passed me. Just give me a 50. Yeah. I was like, I probably didn't have a 20.
Right. Because it was like, right, we don't need to keep this kid in school anymore. And yeah, I mean, it happens too much. So as a parent, just touch base with your child if you think that they're struggling. If you think that, especially if you have a history, family history, if you're like, school wasn't really always great for me, just check in a little bit more. It's important.
Yeah, it's goes a long ways.
It does. Okay, so the other thing is we should touch on the binder because whether people haven't started with the binder, if they didn't listen to previous episodes, they can start doing it now because it's the beginning.
Yeah, it's as crazy as it sounds. You think of every year, the teachers, as we just talked about, they get new kids. And now for high school, some teachers are dealing with, 40, 50, 60, 70 different kids if they're teaching 3 or 4 different classes. Create a binder, for your kid with the 504 in it, with the IEP, and their strengths, their weaknesses, and give it, depending on how many teachers there are, give the teacher a new binder, the binder of what's in there, what their strengths are, what their weaknesses are, what the 504 is, where they excel at in the classroom, what helps them, what doesn't help them. You send an email. How many emails are they getting at the beginning of the school year? Hundreds. Is it going to get buried? Are they actually going to read through it? Are they just going to skim it? Are they going to understand it? No. That binder, it's physical. It's going to be on their desk. It's going to be easier for them to flip to. It's easier for them for the read. It shows that you care, not saying that you don't care by sending an email. It just it stands out differently. You're going to stand out different than any other parent. I sent Mrs. So and so or Mr. So and so an email, or you come back and you as a parent and you hand this over, and they flip through it, and it's not in doctor terms. It's in your terms, which means it's easier for them to understand what your kid needs or what his or her needs in this class and how they excel. That's going to go a long ways for your kid. Is it a pain in the ass to have 6 or 8 or whatever it is? It is. But this is what needs to be done so that teacher has more understanding and not trying to figure out your kid, 2 months or 3 months or 4 months down the road. Going to school, with 7 binders. Here, Mrs. So-and-so, my son, my daughter has an IEP or a 504. Here's all about it. Here's what helps them. Here's what doesn't help them. Here's what causes more anxiety. Please let me know what questions you have. That is a heck of a lot easier for them to go through, open up, and take a look at than handing over and sending an IEP or a neuropsych that they're not up to speed on. They're, these paragraphs, it's not breaking down it, and does it really actually term to what your kid needs in the classroom?
Mm-hmm. And the other thing is, and I know we've talked about this and you sometimes disagree, but what I always did with Montgomery, and he started his sophomore year really being like, okay, fine, is he would touch base with the teacher the first day. And sometimes he would email because as a student emailing, it's different than a parent emailing, and just go up and introduce himself and just say, hey, I have the IEP, I want to go to college, or I want to do well this year, whatever it is. I am dyslexic and, whatever else. So whatever help you can give me, I'd appreciate it. And every time a teacher would be like, you know what? Thank you. I know that wasn't easy. I mean, we talked about this. His English teacher was like, oh shit, this is going to be a really hard year for you. And he's like, yeah, thanks. Every year is a really hard year for me.
And obviously the longer your kid has had it, the more your kid's able to advocate for themselves, 100%. But that's a very small percentage. How many are just got diagnosed? How many aren't okay? How many? So if your kids are able to advocate for themselves, oh, absolutely, do that. Please do that. And Montgomery obviously was you've had a long family history in it, so that you guys are well versed in it. Most people aren't, right? Most people aren't.
Yeah. But also a lot of people don't, like, my nephew who would say, he's like, I wasn't going to freaking tell them. I was going to figure it out myself, or, I wasn't going to let them know. I was going to try to hide. Now, Montgomery did very well at that, but the way he connects with people and makes relationships, he used that as his advantage. So it was like, okay, any help you can give me, he was really like hoping that they'd be like, okay, here.
Don't let me do our work. I don't want to do the work. You do the work, and then we're good.
Yeah. So it was
I like you.
Yeah. So more of that angle for him, which, whatever worked, and whatever works. But then the teacher also just being like, okay, I see that. All right. This kid, wants to do well, or is standing up for himself. And, I know
it's not easy, and it's not easy. And actually, we had this conversation the other day. Like, I will never go into a store and ask for help to find something. I go to Home Depot, I'd walk every aisle to try and find myself before I'll ask somebody.
Mm-hmm. Now, is that being a man stubborn, or?
No, look.
I just want you to explain to the listeners, because they might be like, yeah, my husband doesn't do that either. Or
no, it's not being, it's, I don't know what it is. Am I asking for the right thing? Are they going to look at me? They don't have it. They don't carry it. Why would you ask me? Like, those are all the things that go in my head, right?
You don't want to feel dumb.
Right. No, we don't carry here at Home Depot. We carry at Menards, or okay. Mm-hmm. Just like a grocery store, I'll walk all aisles. Same thing.
Right. Or I'd rather ask, because I know I'm not going to find it in all the aisles, because I'm like looking at the thing. I can't. There's too much stuff on the aisles. So I'm like, But I'm usually also in a rush, so I'm usually like, I need to get in and out. Fucking show me where it is, so I don't have to deal with that. But school is not easy for a lot of kids. Whether you're dyslexic, not, whether you love school, not, there is always a level of, where is the bathroom? Like, so there's different things like, where is this? Where is the class? How do I open my locker? Tons of different things that if you as a parent can just check in with your child to do it before, it's just going to make it a little bit better, but it's also going to let them be able to know it's okay to express, it's okay to say, I don't feel great.
Somebody got their salt stick. Schools, fortunately, got, was it 12 years with kindergarten? And here,
I don't feel
yeah,
like
here
doing the
in
math.
Illinois, they made kindergarten all day now.
Yeah, we've always had all day.
No, we haven't. I think this is the first year for all day. So Peter
Oh,
goes all
really?
day.
Yeah, we've always had all day. I think New York, I want to say always did. New Jersey, I remember when my mom went from, because she would teach 2 classes. But that was like when I probably was still in like middle school,
Yeah,
you know,
no,
when they
that's
switched it.
yeah, that's new. That's new.
And I went to a private school for kindergarten, so I went all day.
Yeah, the daycare.
It was Morristown Friends. It was because they knew that school was not going to be great for me. So it was like, oh, wait, the school helps a little bit better. Nice try. Yeah, my oldest, Elizabeth, and I both went to Morristown Friends, and they had a full day kindergarten.
No, that's they just switched over, so I'm used to half day my whole life.
Mm-hmm. Did Peter start?
He starts tomorrow.
Is he excited?
It's gonna be a lot for he went from preschool, which was last year 3 days. I don't think he went from like
It's
3 days.
it's a lot.
It's a big change. That's a lot for.
But that's so like right. Kindergarten is a big change for a lot of kids. And then when you struggle, like I think I found that picture of Montgomery first day of kindergarten, and he was like, I mean, his little face was not thrilled. But he also, when we were, I think I shared this story, when we were in Brooklyn, he went to a preschool. I always did, like, if the kids were 3, they went 3 days a week. I wasn't the one that, like, a lot of friends would be like, no, they go 5 days. And I was like, why the fuck would you do that? I want them home. I'd like them home. I'll do a couple days with them. But so like, I never did the 2s. And then if 3s, it was 3 days, 4, it was 4 days. And then preschool was 5 days, but it was half day, or it was like 2, like 1 full day and like 2, whatever. So, in his preschool in Brooklyn, the teacher was like, hey, I just want to let you know, all the kids, like, we're doing the alphabet and you get a choice. And this is why I liked this preschool. You can either stay outside and do experiments in the dirt and do all these different things, or you can come in and do some learning. And she's like, I just wanted to let you know, he's the only one that's like, nope, I'm staying outside. And I was like, oh, he loves outside, whatever. But I was like, oh, all right. She's like, I would just keep an eye on it, keep an eye on it. Well, I was like, all right, but like, who doesn't want to be outside? Like, why does other kids want to do the alphabet? That's weird.
Where would you play in Brooklyn? You couldn't play outside. You just have buildings everywhere.
No, there's in Brooklyn, it was called Bean Sprouts, by the way. And they had a whole garden. It was like it was awesome. It was very crunchy. Like the kids could, like, they played in the dirt. It was awesome. They would go to Prospect Park and like do science experiments.
They had parks in Brooklyn?
Prospect Park, just like Central Park. Yeah, big park.
Where? All you got is buildings.
I lived in Park Slope, and it was right off the park. Hence Park Slope. It was a big park. Actually, this is a funny story. When I first moved there, because we lived in Manhattan, and the area I lived in was like super, super safe. And Central Park is pretty safe. And I'll never forget, I was walking Montgomery, and Lucy, who was our first boxer, it was like an early morning. Dan had like used to leave work early, like 6:30, so, whatever. So Montgomery would be up, and I was walking, and I had Truman as well. No, I think I was pregnant with Truman. And a cop stopped me and was like, what are you doing? I was like, taking a walk. He's like, you should not be on this side of the park now. You could get murdered. And I was like, what? And there was a whole like very disturbing homeless community up in the one area of the park. It's not, I don't think it happens anymore. But so he's like, yeah, you do not go here to there. And I was like, all right. And I remember calling Dan, and he's like, what the fuck? And I was like, I mean, I used to walk all over the New York City. Like, I didn't realize Prospect Park had like gangs in the woods in the park. I mean, who would have thought?
White girl.
Yeah, I know. And then I felt really like, I was like, no, I'm like I have very big street smarts, but apparently that day I did not. He's like, you're pregnant with a baby. And I was like, yeah, walking like everyone else does. He's like, yeah, no, you should not be here until like 10. I was like, okay, I didn't know there was a cutoff when you can walk in the freaking park. Yeah. Anyways. All right. Well, I think that is enough of story time. But check in with your kid. Check in with the teacher. It's really, really important. Don't wait. If your kid is grumpy, don't just be like, oh, they're grumpy because they're tired. Just check in and see what's going on. See if you can talk about it. It's going to make your life easier if you do.
Yep. School sucks.
Almost September. Yep. So like, rate, review, and share. Season 4, we are here. So many things coming down the pike that we cannot wait to share with you guys. But again, like, rate, review, and share. And we'll see you for another episode of Word Blindness Dyslexia Exposed.